Good morning everyone. Today is January the 1st, 2021. So first of all, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Cheers. Today we're going to cook this dry aged Hereford Cote Du Boeuf. It's 30-day dry aged. And I'm going to go and light the barbecue on the patio while Jill does the rub and prepares it to be cooked.
Right, so just first of all, we're going to put a very thin layer of mustard over the meat, not for flavour, but so that the rub adheres. This is just one with very little flavour, and you just want a little bit, just to make the rub stick to it, just all over it, on the sides and underneath, like that. Nothing fancy. And then we've prepared a rub. It's just a standard savoury rub, good for meat. It's a tablespoon of black pepper, a tablespoon of kosher salt, a teaspoon of garlic granules, a teaspoon of onion granules, and some bourbon smoked paprika. Probably most people would only want half a teaspoon, but we like the flavour, so I've put a teaspoon of that in it as well. You can use whatever you want. If you like to put herbs in, that gets a good result. You could change the paprika for cayenne pepper, whatever you fancy. So we're just going to sprinkle that quite liberally. I've made too much probably, but it'll save. All over the meat. And the meat's been out of the fridge, I think for about 3/4 of an hour to an hour. So it's at room temp. And that is just simply all we're going to do to it before it goes onto the Kamado Joe Big Joe 3. So see you in a minute.
I've lit a fire with 4 fire lighters in the ashtray of the Big Joe 3. And I've set the barbecue up for 2-zone cooking. So I've got the cast iron grill grate in the lower position. I've got the heat deflector in the lower position. And I've got the standard grill grate in the highest position on the right hand side. And once the Kamado Joe comes up to temperature, I'm going to put these 2 lumps of whiskey barrel oak in to produce some smoke flavour. Now our Cote Du Boeuf unfortunately is actually falling apart, so I'm going to tie it up. Now I'm no butcher, but so I'm going to tie this in a haphazard manner that hopefully will just hold it together while it cooks. And this isn't the best string either. This string is pretty nasty. It's butcher's twine, but I think it's a very cheap one. I got it free from Amazon with some butcher paper. So it's actually pretty nasty old string. Okay, so I'm going to tie it around the bone, and then I'm going to bring it a couple of times around this way. Actually, that's the best way to do it because it's going to hold it together. I'm going to come around the bone again. Like that. Okay, and I'm going to tie it again. And this should hold it, I hope. It probably wouldn't, it may not have fallen apart, but now we just know for definite it won't fall apart. Right, the Big Joe is coming up to temperature, and we're just going to leave this here now to chill at room temperature until it's ready to go on. So we're waiting for the Big Joe to come up to temperature, which is going to be 140 degrees C. Outside in West London today it's -1, but here in the kitchen we're quite warm, it's 21 degrees. So the Big Joe is smoking away and coming up to a temperature slowly. Right, the Big Joe is now up to temp, which is 140 degrees. I've got a probe in the Cote Du Boeuf, and that's going to notify me when it gets to 52 degrees internal. The probe is right in the middle of the thickest part of the steak. We've also got some chopped red onions and some chopped white onions, which we're going to saute on the hob.
I've got some sliced tomatoes, which have got olive oil, seasoning, pepper and salt seasoning, and some thyme, and mushrooms, which we've covered in olive oil, and we've covered with the same rub as we've used on the Cote Du Boeuf, just as an experiment to see how it comes out. So I'll see you in a second on the patio to put the Cote Du Boeuf on the Big Joe.
So here we are out on the patio. We're going to open the Big Joe, burp it, let the smoke come out, and now we're going to put our Cote Du Boeuf on the upper grill grate on the indirect side. Now the vegetables are going to go on in the foil tray. Actually, no, I think we'll put the vegetables on separately. So we'll put the mushrooms on first, and we'll put the tomatoes on, not in the foil tray. And I think doing it like this, they may pick up more flavour from the smoke. But it's an experiment, so we'll just wait and see what happens. Right, they're on. We'll close the lid of the Big Joe. And click. And now we'll see you back out here when the internal temperature reaches 52 degrees. Right, we've reached 52 degrees centigrade internal temperature in the Cote Du Boeuf, so we'll open the Big Joe and see what we've got. Looks good. I'm going to take the probe out. It's quite hot, so we'll have to use this. And I'm going to wrap the Cote Du Boeuf in foil, tightly in foil, because we want to keep it as warm as possible. This is double layered foil. Right. Mushrooms, tomatoes, they're looking good. So what I'm going to do now is take the pick probe out as well. I'm going to open the bottom vent and the top vent fully. I'm going to get the Big Joe up to about 200 to 250 degrees centigrade, which is 4,500 Fahrenheit, and then I'm going to reverse sear this. So we'll be back when this gets up to temperature. The Big Joe is now up to 250 degrees centigrade. So we're going to open it, unwrap the Cote Du Boeuf, and we're going to reverse sear it. This involves putting it on the direct heat for 1 minute, then giving it a quarter turn, then another minute, turning it over, and then another minute, and then a quarter turn, another minute, and then taking it off, and it should be ready to take inside to carve. That's the theory, so let's see how we get on with this.
Right, we're ready to carve, and this might look like overkill, but this is my new 14-inch carving knife, and I've been dying to try this on something. This is a bit small for trying it on, but I had to try it. So first of all, I'm going to cut the bone out. This looks good. This looks very, very good. So, here we go. It's certainly juicy. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but that is oozing juice. Cutting this way around isn't the easiest. I must admit I should be the other way around, but let me try that. This carves beautifully. This is a fantastic knife. This is so sharp, it's frightening. And there we have a reverse seared Cote Du Boeuf. Happy New Year. If only the fucking cameraman was there. Right, welcome back. That's what's left of our Cote Du Boeuf. So it was pretty good.
It was delicious. It was lovely.
Yeah, it was.
It was
But
good.
start with the. I'm going to start with the mushrooms because that was an experiment,
Yeah.
and it picked up the flavour of the whiskey oak amazingly. You could taste smoke in the mushroom, and you could taste all the different components of the rub, which really, really surprised me.
And the olive oil was fine. So just smothering a bit of olive oil on them actually was fine. I thought that might not work with mushrooms because they're super absorbent. But it was fine.
It did. And
The tomatoes, I don't think were that different to if you'd done it in the oven, to be fair. They were really good. They were nice and soft and sweet and luscious, but I think you can get the same result pretty much in the oven.
I don't know. I could taste smoke on the tomatoes as well, which surprised me.
But not as much as the mushrooms.
No. The mushrooms just picked up everything. But coming back to the Cote Du Boeuf, I mean that absorbed all of the rub, and it was so tender. We actually let it overcook a little bit because the flame boss had gone offline and we hadn't noticed, so it actually went up to about 55 degrees.
Yeah, it was more like 55, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it was more medium.
It was probably a medium.
Bordering.
Yeah.
Medium rare.
We were looking for medium rare, but it's probably gone to slightly closer to the
Yeah.
medium. But it was still really, really juicy.
It didn't affect the eating quality at all.
It was soft. The meat
And
was
it was so
soft
tender.
and tender
Yeah.
and flavoursome.
Lovely.
The flavour was just
Yeah.
unbelievable. So, thank you for watching. If you like what you've seen, please put a big thumbs up. If you want to see more, subscribe, hit the bell, and we'll be back probably tomorrow or Sunday with another video. Thank you very much.